Hi everyone, welcome to One Breath, a place where we read, reflect on, and immerse ourselves in books that help us understand ourselves better and live more peacefully each day. We are living in an age overloaded with information. Social media is filled with glamorous travel shots, exaggerated achievements, and lives that seem endlessly perfect. With just one glance at your phone, you see people who appear richer, more talented, more beautiful, and more successful. And perhaps, at some point, you've looked back at yourself and felt you weren't enough. If you often feel inferior, shy, anxious, unsafe, or undeserving, if you still keep trying to prove that you are the best, it's very likely that a deep sense of insecurity exists within you. And maybe you need to listen to the story of Kite Runner, a story about memory, mistakes, hidden wounds, and the journey of a person learning to rise, confront themselves, and grow through the rest of their life. This is a renowned novel by Afghan-American author Khaled Hosseini, a deeply humanistic literary work. It became a publishing phenomenon, appearing on the New York Times bestseller list for more than 2 years, with over 7 million copies sold in the United States alone. The first time I read this book, I saw the painful journey of Amir, an Afghan boy seeking redemption after betraying his most loyal friend, Hassan. I also felt the bitterness of lives marked by ethnic discrimination, and I could almost see before my eyes an Afghanistan that was once beautiful and peaceful before war reduced it to ruins. But it wasn't until my second reading that I realized there was a deeper layer beneath all those tragedies, a quiet yet powerful psychological force capable of shaping an entire life: insecurity. I hope that the following reflections will bring you meaningful insight, helping you understand the direct link between feelings of inferiority and the meaning of life, so you can discover your true values and gently loosen the invisible knots holding your heart back. Now, let's dive into today's sharing. Insecurity has already been there since childhood. A truly confident person is someone who understands their own worth without needing to compare themselves with anyone else. They don't believe they are perfect, but they trust in their ability to face challenges, to take responsibility for their choices, and to have the courage to admit their mistakes. In life, many people live inside an invisible prison called insecurity. It is quiet, but it shapes the way we see the world and how we see ourselves. You will notice that some people are incredibly talented, yet still feel small and inadequate. Meanwhile, others who seem ordinary, with no remarkable achievements, live a life full of confidence and contentment. As you read this novel, you will realize something important. Insecurity does not come from a lack of resources, education, or social status. Instead, it is rooted in childhood, born from invisible gaps within us. The story begins in the 1970s in Kabul, the capital of Afghanistan, when the country was still peaceful before later historical upheavals. It was a city full of color, but also full of social divides and class differences. The main character is Amir, a boy born into a wealthy, upper-class family with access to good education, yet raised under the weight of his father's expectations and strict standards. Amir's closest companion is Hassan, the servant's son, a Hazara boy of a lower social class, loyal, brave, and kind-hearted, but subjected to severe ethnic discrimination. In the winter of 1975, Amir entered the local kite fighting tournament and won after cutting down all the other kites. In the eyes of kite fighters, the true prize is the last fallen kite. Hassan, Amir's best friend, ran to retrieve it for him, but after finding the kite, he encountered Asef, a sadistic bully with a grudge against Amir and deep-rooted prejudice toward Hassan. Asef ambushed Hassan and demanded the kite. Hassan refused, and as a result, Asef beat and assaulted him. Amir witnessed everything from a distance, yet chose not to intervene. In reflecting on his thoughts from that moment, Amir reveals that if he failed to bring home the last fallen kite, his father's pride in him would diminish. For a long time, the friendship between Amir and Hassan had already been stained by subtle jealousy. Amir envied Hassan's purity, bravery, and especially the affection his father showed Hassan. Another reason was the rigid class and ethnic hierarchy in Afghanistan. Amir, a Pashtun from the privileged class, had every advantage. Hassan, a Hazara, was seen as inferior and treated unjustly. Although Amir loved Hassan, society constantly reminded him that Hassan was just a servant and not his equal. This deep-seated prejudice, combined with Amir's own insecurity and anxiety about his place in the world, created the perfect conditions for him to act with cruelty and cowardice. That moment became a stain he could never wash away. Jealousy and selfishness drove Amir not only to betray Hassan, but also to betray himself, his conscience, and his innate compassion. The guilt became so unbearable that Amir later committed an even worse act, framing Hassan for theft so he would be forced out of the house. Amir's jealousy ultimately stemmed from his own insecurity. This is one of the deeper psychological layers within Kite Runner. Insecurity distorts the way we see ourselves, makes us feel small, prone to envy, and easily hurt, and often pushes us into choices that go against our conscience simply to seek validation. Amir betrayed Hassan not because he was evil, but because he was too weak to endure the shame and fear suffocating his heart. As Russian writer Alexander Solzhenitsyn once said, "Envy consumes us the most." From Amir's story, you may notice this. Insecurity often grows with us from childhood, rooted in early memories. Like Amir, a child deprived of his father's affection, without the warmth of love, the world felt cold and unfriendly to him. You can also see insecurity in children with disabilities. Children who become deeply introverted, feel isolated, and struggle to connect with others. Children who are overly pampered experience something similar. Because they are favored from a young age, they grow up believing they are the center of everything, gaining achievements not through contribution or connection. What these children have in common is a lack of meaningful connection. A child raised in a household where parents constantly fight may develop one of two personalities, either extremely timid and conflict, averse, or aggressive and dominating as a defense mechanism. You can see this in children who are frequently scolded at home. They are obedient and quiet, but at school, they bully others to feel a sense of power that they lack within their family. Some children grow up with a roadmap forced upon them. You must be top of the class. You must get into the best school. At first, they try their hardest to earn praise or parental pride, but as they grow older, the pressure becomes unbearable because no one can always meet such expectations. Every slight drop in grades feels like a personal failure. Another example lies in gifted children. Because they sing well, draw beautifully, or excel at mathematics, they are immediately labeled genius, the family's pride. When they become tired or shift interests, parents accuse them of being lazy or unmotivated. This creates children who feel trapped in a role far too heavy for them, always perfect, always watched. Eventually, many rebel, shut down emotionally, or lose their spark. At school, differences in parenting styles create significant impacts. Children who are listened to and whose emotions are respected tend to be confident, cooperative, and open in group settings. Conversely, children raised under commands and control become extremely sensitive to criticism. No matter how hard a school tries, it cannot fully compensate for what is missing at home if the foundation is not strong. All these behaviors are not inherent traits. They are simply the result of children not learning how to connect, starting from their closest relationships. In truth, we are not much different from those children. All of us carry insecurities in some form: insecurity about appearance, income, job status, education, family background, and more. Because of these insecurities, we constantly try to compensate, often feeling the need to prove ourselves, sometimes even believing that life is a competition where we must fight to gain everything. For example, a person who grew up poor and looked down upon may later chase wealth at all costs, even when money no longer holds real meaning for them. Or a child constantly compared to the brilliant neighbor's kid may grow up with an intense sense of competition, competing for grades in school, then ranks and titles at work. Life, in essence, is a journey of overcoming our insecurities. Insecurity is normal, there is no shame in it. In fact, all human civilizations have progressed because of it. This very sense of inadequacy often becomes the fuel behind human growth. So how do we overcome it and become excellent? The answer is simple. Learn to look deeply into the insecurities surrounding you and transform them into motivation. Some people who grew up poor once felt ashamed for not having nice clothes or school supplies, but that same insecurity pushed them to study harder and build a prosperous life. Because they recognized their weakness and chose not to run away, they turned it into strength. Others were insecure about being overweight. They worked on their habits, exercised, and eventually achieved the appearance they wanted. Only when you begin seeing your insecurities from a different angle can you turn them into positive momentum for change. When that happens, the walls of insecurity gradually crumble and confidence arrives naturally. Another example is students who once felt inferior because of poor grades. By learning at their own pace and seeking help, many ended up becoming the most improved in their class. As you can see, feelings of helplessness often breed insecurity. But if we choose the right path, insecurity becomes beneficial, a lever that propels us toward excellence. If we choose the wrong path, it leads us to mistakes and causes us to miss the chance to live a meaningful life. Pride is only a shield that hides insecurity. There is another character who, though not the central figure of the novel, has an immense influence on Amir's psychology. That person is his father, a wealthy merchant. In the eyes of the public, he is seen as a capable, courageous, and respected man. He built an orphanage, helped those in need, and lived by strict moral principles, admired by everyone around him. Wherever there was a problem, he appeared steady, decisive, and commanding the respect of all. But behind that brilliance was a man full of inner turmoil, for he carried a long-hidden family secret. Hassan was his biological son, born from an affair with a household servant, a Hazara woman. Because of deep-rooted ethnic prejudice in Afghanistan, rigid class divisions, and the weight of family honor, he chose to bury that truth forever. Outwardly, he was a great man who taught Amir never to steal or lie, yet he himself committed the greatest deceit, lying about Hassan's origins. His strictness toward Amir did not come from a lack of love. On the contrary, it was a form of love tainted by guilt. He wanted Amir to grow into a strong, fearless man, unyielding, bold, never weak. Every expectation he placed on Amir was an attempt to compensate for the shame he carried within himself. Later, when Afghanistan descended into political turmoil, father and son fled to the United States. There, his personality became even more exposed. Once a powerful man, he was now an immigrant doing physical labor, selling goods at flea markets, living in a modest apartment. Yet even in hardship, he clung to his pride, refusing food stamps, rejecting assistance, insisting on appearing strong and self-reliant. That pride was nothing more than a shield protecting the deep insecurity within him. Amir's father was not a bad man. He was a sincere human being forced to live within the limits of society, honor, and prejudice. His secret was like a wound that could never heal because he never allowed anyone to see it. And that secret shaped his relationship with Amir, creating distance, misunderstanding, and hurt. It was also the starting point of many tragedies. His story reveals a simple truth. Those who seem the strongest, the strictest, the most emotionally reserved, are often the ones hiding the deepest insecurity. They build an armor of toughness so no one can see their weakness, mistakes, or pain. Yet, it is precisely that armor that distances them from the people they love. Psychologically, Amir's father embodies a form of overconfidence, a different manifestation of insecurity. These are people who see themselves as superior, constantly needing to prove their worth. They behave this way to conceal the fragile, helpless, dependent parts of themselves. When these states go unchecked, they lead to mistakes and cause one to lose the true meaning of life. Such individuals often seek attention and validation, are overly sensitive to criticism, frequently judge others, brag about their achievements, scrutinize others' flaws, and possess an intense competitive streak. You may recognize this in certain colleagues, the ones who, in group work, always insist they are right, dismiss others' contributions, and claim all the credit when things go well. Yet when the outcome is poor, they are the first to blame everyone else. Beneath this behavior lies a fear of being seen as inferior, which drives them to construct a powerful persona and an inflated ego. You may also notice this in close relationships. For example, a husband who tries to control his wife, masking jealousy and possessiveness under the name of love, is often acting out of his own insecurity. But control never creates happiness. It fractures the relationship. When love lacks trust and understanding, it becomes the root of conflict, resentment, and suffering. You may see it in people whose lives look polished and successful from the outside. Yet inside, they have long been hollowed out, trapped by the heavy expectations they place on themselves, or in those who constantly force themselves to appear perfect in everything they do. The truth is this: when life is driven by the fear of being judged, a person can no longer feel genuine joy in any of their achievements, and you may even recognize it within yourself. In real life, many of us carry countless ornaments meant to prove our worth: curated photos, promotions, salary raises, luxurious trips. We convince ourselves that people will respect us more if we look successful or wealthy. This pride is not inherently bad. At some point, it protected you. It was the armor that helped you survive difficult, painful phases of life. But when held for too long, it becomes a wall blocking love, empathy, and connection. The more you insist that you need no one, the easier it is to feel lonely within your own life. It distances you from those who truly care, leaving you to live inside the shell you created, always performing, always pretending. Only when you dare to remove that armor will you realize something profound. People do not judge you as harshly as you imagine. Instead, you will receive understanding, compassion, and support. Sincerity touches the heart far more deeply than any flawless facade. And then you will understand. All those years, the thing that made you lonely was not the world. It was the wall you built around yourself. The lesson here is simple. The courage to reveal your weaknesses is the foundation of all genuine connection. Sometimes, admitting the truth is the deepest form of strength. Saying, "I was wrong, I'm afraid," or "I need you," does not make you smaller, it makes you real, and it brings the people around you closer. Whenever feelings of insecurity, competition, or inferiority arise, you can ask yourself, what am I afraid of? Am I longing for approval? Am I pretending to be strong? Am I trying to control someone to feel safe? These questions are not for self-blame, but to help you see how insecurity silently shapes your emotions. I once had a brilliant manager who was remarkably humble, always eager to learn, and unafraid to admit his limitations. During meetings, he often said the same simple line, "I'm not completely clear on this part. Could someone explain it to me?" Immediately, the entire atmosphere softened. There was no defensiveness, no hierarchy, only genuine collaboration. When a leader dares to acknowledge their weaknesses, The whole team feels safer, more creative, and more open. The strongest bonds are formed when no one feels the need to pretend to be invincible. Another example lies in family. Sometimes the people who love each other the most hesitate to speak honestly with one another. Many parents pretend to be strong in front of their children, always saying, "I'm fine," even when struggling with work, finances, or health. Yet if a parent simply says, "I'm a little tired, could you help me?" the child immediately feels trusted. They become part of the sharing, not merely a recipient. In that very moment, a new bond is formed, stronger, warmer, more human. And in love, some relationships fall apart, not because there is a lack of love, but because both partners are afraid to admit their feelings, afraid of looking needy or vulnerable, especially women, who often stay silent when upset, regardless of who is right or wrong. But if she dares to say, "Sometimes I get jealous and overreact because I'm afraid of losing you," that softness becomes a bridge rather than a barrier. It invites understanding instead of conflict. Sometimes, one small confession is enough to heal a very large misunderstanding. Connection as a path to change. The story of Amir and his father, together with their psychological struggles, shows how profoundly childhood shapes each of us. The family during the early years is the foundation for a person's way of life, while schooling is an extension that supports what begins at home. In modern society, you can easily find many fathers like Amir's raising their children with strict rules, pushing them to grow up quickly, to be strong, and to achieve the things they themselves once failed to do. They say things like, "Back then, we were poor, so I didn't have the chance to study. Now that I can give you everything, you must try harder." Another example is fathers who appear successful on the outside, but internally carry unresolved guilt or the weight of a youthful failure. Instead of sharing these truths with their children, they hide behind a need to control everything, always insisting they are right. There is also the situation where parents themselves lack connection with each other. If that bond is broken, they cannot expect their children to know how to connect. When a father is constantly angry and controlling, children grow up believing marriage is a form of submission or domination. When a mother constantly nags or tries to control everything, her daughters will mimic that behavior, while her sons may grow defensive, fearful of criticism, and secretly driven by a desire to conquer others. A common case is mothers who exaggerate their love with phrases like, "You are everything to me." While it sounds affectionate, this expression can become a form of possession. The child will try hard to win the mother's attention, believing she belongs solely to them. They then develop manipulative behaviors, crying at night, wetting the bed, being restless, and later grow into adults who see themselves as the center of the world. For all these reasons, change must begin at home and in the education system. I understand that modern life is busy. Children are in school all day, and parents are swept up in work. Dinner time is often the only moment the whole family gathers. That's why, during these meals, parents should practice connecting with their children, talking more, listening more. It's important not to confuse connection with control. Instead of asking pressure-filled questions like, "How many points did you get on your math exam?" ask open questions such as, "What made you happy at school today?" Then listen fully without judgment, without interrupting, praising effort instead of focusing on mistakes. And afterward, parents should share their own stories too. That's when the bridge is rebuilt. The child feels joy, comfort, and begins to believe their emotions matter. From there, they open up more easily and gradually learn how to form healthy, meaningful connections with the world. And sometimes, in these simple moments, parents also find healing for themselves. In school, teachers can also be powerful connectors. A homeroom teacher who listens, asks how students are doing, and notices the sadness behind a student's silence can change everything. Many real stories show that just a simple sentence from a teacher, "I see how hard you're trying," or If you're struggling, you can always talk to me. Can help a child overcome loneliness. Connection in education doesn't lie in complex methods. It lies in adults opening their hearts first, letting children know they always have someone to trust, a place to return to. Connection at school doesn't need to be grand. Sometimes it begins with very small things. Some classes have a 5-minute sharing corner at the start of the day, where each student talks about something that made them happy, sad, or grateful. These simple moments help children realize they are not alone. Student A also feels pressured about grades. Student B also has bad days. Student C also worries about family. When children witness the emotions of others and are heard themselves, connection becomes a living experience. Years later, what students remember most is not the lessons, but the feeling of belonging. So, positive connection not only helps children grow in a healthy way, but also heals parents, easing pressure, lessening anger, and reducing unrealistic expectations. When parents and children learn to open up, share, and listen, the family becomes a place where everyone, young or old, is comforted, understood, loved, and allowed to return to their true selves. This is why I place such emphasis on family education here, and I hope those who are parents now or will become parents in the future will learn to begin change from within themselves. Returning to the novel briefly, Amir truly matured when he went back to Afghanistan to rescue Sohrab Hassan's son from an orphanage after Hassan and his wife were killed. But his father missed the chance to right his wrongs. Even on his deathbed, he carried his secret with him, never once calling Hassan "my son." This reminds you that healing your inner shame means daring to face the wounds within you, but you won't always have infinite time to do so. The moment you understand and gently embrace your shortcomings, inner freedom begins to unfold, because in the end, the most precious thing in life is not the winning kite, nor the successful businessman's armor, but the ability to live truthfully with your own heart. Only then can you live a life that feels whole, spacious, and serene. When you stop running from pain or masking your weaknesses beneath a strong facade, you realize healing starts with honesty toward yourself. Like Amir, only when he faced the memories he feared most could he step out of the shadow of his past. And in each of our lives, the things we avoid are often the things that bind us the most. Only when you dare to look directly at your fear, loneliness, guilt, or shame can you take the first steps toward inner maturity. Not to become a flawless version of yourself, but a complete one. Someone who accepts both the light and the darkness within. And from then on, every choice you make, even the smallest, carries more peace, because it comes from a heart that finally understands itself. Thank you for staying with me until the end of this video. If what I shared brought you any clarity or comfort, please pass it along to someone who may also need a peaceful moment. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss my weekly uploads. I'll see you again in the next videos.